Hello everyone, welcome to Java Programming Episode 4. Today we're going to be taking a look at Booleans and if statements. So to start off with, let's go over some things called comparison operators. Comparison operators, you probably saw these in math class already. You have less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and not equal to. And you can use these in Java as well to compare two different values or variables and get a result from that. The result you're going to get from that is either a true or a false. Now, this is called a Boolean value, and a Boolean variable can hold the value of a Boolean value, true or false. To declare a Boolean variable, what you can do is type out Boolean variable is equal to true, or you can do Boolean another variable equals false. So this is how you can declare Booleans with type either true or false, much like how you can create an integer variable which holds an integer value. So this is how you declare Boolean variables. We're not going to work with too much with this today, but what do we have here? We have a little simple program that I want to run and we'll go over, and it's going to display some different Boolean variables here. So let's go through this line by line here. So all I'm doing is creating a scanner input to get input from the user. I'm asking the user to enter an integer, and that integer next int is going to be set to equal to this first number integer, and then we're going to output the number to the user. Then we're going to check to see if that number is divisible by 2 by doing this operation right here, first number remainder 2, and if that operation is equal to 0, that will output either true or false, which is a Boolean value. Same thing over here, we're going to be doing first number is greater than 100. If that's true or false, that will output either one of those. And then last we have first number equals 50. And then we have these exclamation point. So let me go over these. These are Boolean operators, and there's 4 different types of those, but I'm only going to go over 3 of them. We have not, which is this, the exclamation point. We have double and we have or, which looks like 2 lines. So let me illustrate that real quick. This is not, this is and, this is or. So not is the exclamation point, and is double ampersand, and or is 2 lines that we're just going straight up and down. So these different Boolean operators, not flips true to false and false to true, and says this returns true, returns true if and only if all conditions are true, and or it returns true if at least one condition is true. Alright, so what we're doing here, this one's getting a little bit tricky, so let me just get rid of these and we'll go back to this in just a second. There we go. So let's run our program. So first off, it asks me to enter an integer. I'm going to enter 50 and hit enter. So as it says, the number you entered was 50 right here. Is the number divisible by 2? Well, that's true. Is the number greater than 100? That's false. Is the number equal to 50? That's true as well. So here you can see the output true, false, true for all of our Boolean operations that we just did here. So let's get a little bit more complex with this. We'll add in the exclamation point. So when we do this, originally this evaluates to true, as you can see down here. When we add the exclamation point, that is going to flip true to false. Like we said up here, flips true to false and false to true. So when we run this again, and I type in 50, it flips this to false. Now we have true, false, false for our operations that we just did. So it takes whatever we get here, which was true originally because 50 equals 50, and then flips it. So now we have 50 does not equal 50, if that makes sense. So we take whatever we get here, and then we flip it, and then that's how we got false. So if we do that again, If I put this in parentheses here, if we say first number equals 50, and if first number equals 50, this will evaluate to true. But if we flip it, that'll evaluate to false. If we flip it again, it'll evaluate to true. So by adding two, by adding two exclamation points here, that negates a negation, which gives you the original thing back. So if we just do this again and say, please enter an integer, and I say 50, we can see we get true, false, true again. Again, because a negation of a negation cancels each other out, and we just get this. First number equals 50, and if first number does in fact equal 50, this will evaluate to true. So let's do an AND operation. So let's say, let's combine some of these. Let's copy this line, get rid of all this. So is the number divisible by 2 and is equal to 50? So I'm just going to write here and say and then paste our line in. And then I think we're missing probably a parenthesis somewhere. I'll just throw a couple parentheses around here. There we go. So let's rerun this again. 50. So the number we entered was 50. Is the number divisible by 2 and is equal to 50? That's true because both of these conditions are true. So if one of these wasn't true, then this would evaluate to false right here. And is the number greater than 100? No, that's false. So if I set this to if the number is equal to 51 and hit run, and then if I type in 50 again, this is going to equal false because this condition isn't met. Both of these conditions have to be met for this whole thing to evaluate to true. Now if I did this and hit run, and this time I'm going to enter 52, is the number we entered was 52, is the number divisible by 2, well, that should be or. Run that again. 52. Is the number divisible by 2? That is true. Or is it equal to 50? Well, this end result is true because this evaluated to true, which made the whole thing equal to true. And remember, with an or statement, it returns true if at least one condition is true. Well, this condition is true, which makes the whole thing true. So that's the difference between an and an or. And, or, and not. We've all looked at those three. So now let's look at an if statement here. So an if statement would say, let's do this. Let's copy this line. Copy, delete all this. Get rid of the parentheses here. And say, move that back to 50. Is the number equal to 50? Okay. I want to say if, paste our line in here, curly brace, curly brace. Make this a little bit more neater to read. Like that. Okay. Get rid of that line. Whatever. Okay. So what we're saying here, this is what's called an if statement. And if this evaluates to true here, if our first number has a remainder of 0, then this line will print out. Otherwise, this line won't print out at all. So let's run this and let's illustrate this. If I enter 51, which is an odd number, it will not have a remainder of 0 when it's evaluated with 2 here. So if I press enter, this line just gets skipped altogether because this condition was not true. Likewise, if I invert it and run it again and type in 51, then this line prints out because this evaluated to false, but when we negated it, it evaluated to true, which made the whole thing true, which made this line print out. So that's an if statement here. If this is true, then this line will print out. Let's do something different where we say if this line is true, do something. If it's false, do something else. So that you could do that by saying an if-else statement. So let's say s out the number is not even. Let's run this. So if I type in 50, which is an even number, we can see that we get this line to print out. And then we also get this line to print out, but not this one to print out. And that's because this first evaluated to true. So it printed out, it went in and did this code right here. It said, is the number equal to 50? And it evaluated this. And it skipped this line because this was already printed out. So because this condition was true, it's going to go and do this code and not the other one. So likewise, let's make that false. So if I say 51, so since this was not evaluated to true in this time when we run it, because we entered 51 and 51 is an odd number, it printed out this number is not even down here. So hopefully that makes sense. Since this condition right here, first number remainder 2 equals 0, since this condition was not met, it skipped this line of code and went down to the second line of code here where it printed out this number is not even, and then it printed out is a number greater than 100, like so. So let's see here. Do we have any more examples that I could show you here? Let's do one more thing. Let's do nested if statements. Let's say if first number is equal to 50, then do something. Copy, paste. If first number is greater than 1, do this. A number greater than 1. Okay. So this illustrates that you can have what are called nested if statements. So we have an if statement inside an if statement, right? We can even do that down here as well. We can say if first number is greater than 1. We can say S out our number is greater than 1. Like so. So we have a bunch of if statements here inside of different conditions. So we have two of these if statements inside of this first if condition, and we have another if statement inside of this else condition. So let's run this and see what we get. So if we enter 50, the number we entered was 50. Is the number equal to 50? That's true. So it looked at this first condition, and if this first condition was met, went to the next condition where it said if the first number is equal to 50, and then it printed this out right here, this line right here, which is right here. And then if the number is greater than 1, print out the number is greater than 1. And then it finishes and then skips everything else and goes down to the next thing. Down here is the number greater than 100, which is false. Alright, so let's run this again where the number is not even. Let's say 51. So the number we entered was 51. Then, because this condition wasn't met, it skips all of this code and goes down to the else statement down here. It says if the number is greater than 1, print out our number is greater than 1, which it does right here. And then say the number is not even, which it prints out this code as well. Exit out of the if statement, and then goes down and prints out is the number greater than 100. So that is a basic introduction into comparisons, the comparison operators, as well as Booleans and if statements. So next time we're going to do is we're going to take a look at while loops, for loops, do while loops, things like that. We're going to get a little bit more complex things. So hopefully if you understood this, you can check out the code. I'll have this pasted in the description of this video if you have any questions or troubles. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed and learned something, and I will see you all next time.